Former Ambassador MacNaughton, welcome back to Power Play. Thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
I wanted to first get your reaction to what we have heard from U.S. President Donald Trump in his reaction to the U.S. Supreme Court. And he actually said that this decision gives him even more powers that he is looking to go forward with, notably using Section 122 and imposing a more sort of global 10% tariff on all countries. What is your sense of how he is reacting here?
Well, I'm not really surprised. I mean, I'm not really surprised at what the Supreme Court did, and I'm not surprised at his reaction. And I think he, when it became obvious during the questioning when the Supreme Court heard the case that there was some skepticism about his use of IEPA, and so I think he's had time to prepare for the potential that they would say he didn't have the authority to do it. He still says he loves tariffs, and so I'm not shocked at all by his reaction. I would have been surprised if there had been anything else.
But not only does he say that he's allowed to still use tariffs, he also says that this decision underlines the fact that he can end trade with any other country. And the fact that he's musing about that and saying how he can not only end trade with another country, but end another country, essentially. What does that tell you about where he's at?
Well, again, I think President Trump tends to hyperbolize, shall we say. I mean, the reality is he doesn't care about other countries and its impact on other countries. He only cares about its impact on the United States. And I suppose he's been elected as president of the United States, he should be caring about them. The question really becomes if he, imposes other tariffs at the end of the day, American consumers pay for the tariffs. And so as we get closer and closer to the midterms, the question is going to be, is he going to strike reasonable deals with countries that have significant impact on the United States consumers and buy things from the United States or not? And my guess is that, we're already starting to see some members of Congress, say, you don't do this, don't do that. We saw some things from the agriculture sector in the United States saying, please preserve CUSMA. So, he'll react to pressure from American interests, not from Canadian or other interests. And it's just a question of, how is it going to impact Americans?
And as somebody who's been on the front lines of those negotiations, when you consider the fact that today's decision doesn't really affect Canada insofar as the tariffs that, the sectoral tariffs that Canada is dealing with are under Section 232, under that national security issue there. So what would you say is the best road forward for Canada and Canadian negotiators now? Do you think we're in a better position to try and get a deal on CUSMA now that this has happened?
Well, I think that there's a window, and I think the discussion with the Americans has to be broader than simply the CUSMA review. We need to, because the tariffs on steel, aluminum, and lumber are under Section 232, we have to have a discussion about defense and security. And given the fact that we are substantially increasing our defense spending, I mean, I'd be going to American companies that are in the defense business and saying, we're going to spend tens of billions of dollars on defense, in Canada. And the question really is, if we're a national security threat, why would we do it with you? I know that the Americans are really interested in our critical minerals. I mean, I do think we've got some cards to play here. I think it's better to play them quietly rather than do it, vocally and, in a threatening way. I think it's something that we can have discussions with American business about to help us. Sometimes they don't really even realize how much they depend on Canada for inputs to their final products. And so, I think there's a window here where we can have a sensible discussion and hopefully, provide some certainty for Canadians and Canadian businesses that are doing business with the United States.
A window
We're in a better position than most other countries, for sure.
Yeah, and certainly the Prime Minister has underscored that in talking about between 85 and 90% of our products that we trade with the U.S. are covered under CUSMA. But do you say that there's a window here because the President maybe needs a win, or because he's now sort of on his back heel, that maybe there is a sense here that Canada could go in there and say, look, we can put this to bed now?
Yeah, I think, he will always want to portray whatever deal is done as being a win for him. And even, he even goes further than that. He said he doesn't want to just say, I won. He says, I won and you lost. So we have to be clever about how we actually do things that are in our best interest, and allow him to say he won. I mean, I started discussions around critical minerals when I was in Washington, and I had a conversation with their national security advisor, and I said, why don't you sort of do what you did with aluminum and do a take or pay contract, and we'll get you the critical minerals. And he said, well, David, I'd love to, but we need them before 2050 when you get them out of the ground. And I think one of the things that's happened, and you've seen this with not just Prime Minister Carney, but with the premiers and others, is we've actually been shocked into doing some sensible things that we should have been doing for a long, long time. And we had got too complacent. There's too much process and not enough focus on outcomes. So I'm reasonably optimistic. I mean, you never know when you're dealing with President Trump, but I think there's a lot of things that could happen that would be beneficial to Canada. I mean, we can help the United States get off of their dependence on China on a lot of things. They are buying significant amounts of enriched uranium from Russia. I mean, there's lots of things that we've got in our array of things that Trump may not want to say that he depends on things from Canada, but there's some things that actually they would do well to expand their relationship with us. So I'm optimistic. I'm always optimistic, but I've seen sometimes when the president gets most vociferous in his rhetoric that it's actually an opportunity to do something sensible.
Okay, and we'll leave it on that optimistic note then. Former Canadian ambassador to the U.S., David MacNaughton, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.